Thanks for joining us for a video guide on how to fill out the form to create a new campaign on Faithify. Everything I'm going to talk about is listed in our Quick Start Guide, faithify.org/quick-start, and that gives you plenty of information about everything I'm going to cover here. So check it out if you like. Let's get going. So I thought you'd like to have an example to look at. This is a recent campaign that was successful, and it has the basics of everything that you'd want to cover in a campaign. This one was from a congregation whose youth group was going on a coming-of-age trip. So this is what we'll be using as our example. The first thing that you want to do before you start a campaign on Faithify is to create an account. We have another video about how to create an account on Faithify. It's pretty straightforward, so let's assume that you have indeed created your account and you're ready to get going. There are several different ways you can get to the form. On our home page, there's this big green button. You can use that to start the campaign form. There's also other buttons on the site, so it might not look exactly like this, and that's just fine. One thing, looking at this example, Help Grow Lifelong UUs, I want you to just notice over here in the creator, this shows who the campaign is by, who the campaign manager is. That can show either an individual or a congregation or organization. So that's an option that you're going to see on the form. Other things we're going to talk about are the campaign image, the campaign description area, the funding mode, and the start and end dates. So keep those in mind a little bit. Let's get going. So once you get into the form, you may have entered the title already. The next thing you're going to come into is putting in a featured image. It's best if they're landscape orientation. If you add a file and it's not loading, it could be that the file size is too large. So you can resize it and try uploading again. There's some great information about creating images for your Faithify campaign at faithify.org/creating-images, and it gives you some good tips about best practices around images. Unfortunately, we can't add alt image text for the featured image. We can for other images in your description. So if you've already entered a title, it'll show up here. If not, you'll have your chance to type it in. You can customize your URL for your campaign. You can only customize this last section after the campaign ID number, so you can change that if you like. And a video is optional but recommended. A short, compelling video really helps people understand your campaign. If you use a video, it will show instead of the main image on your campaign page. You can also add a thumbnail video. This is just a little short video that will catch people's eye on the home page of the site. For both of those, you add in the URL for the site where you are streaming your video, like YouTube or Vimeo. You just put that link right in the field. Blurb, just a short 150 characters summary of what your product is. The funding mode, we have two funding modes, all or nothing or keep it all. Keep it all is restricted categories for disaster relief, CAPAS, General Assembly, and UU religious professionals credentialing and professional development campaigns. So those can be in keep it all mode with approval by Faithify staff. So in general, most campaigns are going to be all or nothing funding mode. You can add the location where your project is, help people find things, and then you can add categories. Some categories allow you to choose subcategories. So let's say if you chose justice, there are several subcategories underneath justice to help people understand more about your project. Then you want your goal. Put that in there. You can always raise more than the initial goal. It's important to be realistic about what you think you might be able to raise for your project, especially when you are in all or nothing funding mode. And then the currency, most people are going to have US dollars, but we have others available. If yours isn't shown here, contact us and see if we're able to add it. Let's see. And then your duration, you choose a start date. Keep in mind it does take us up to 48 hours to review and confirm your campaign, so give us that time before your start date. Campaigns can be 15, 30, 45, or 60 days. So you can reach that end date either by putting in your start date and adding the number of days you want, or you can use the calendar to select a day. If it doesn't work right away, don't worry. Sometimes you have to refresh the page. And we can also help with adjusting dates if you need that. You add in who is the person who is going to be managing this campaign. That's for our internal information for when we contact you. And then here's your description. This is a place where you can really use some creativity. You can add images. You can use color and headings to draw people's eye to things, give them the information about your project that really motivates them to take part and contribute. You can add links, all kinds of little tools up here. Please be sure to spell out acronyms. That'll help folks who might not know your congregation or organization. It's always important to give information about where you're located, because we have backers from all over the world. So they might not know which Springfield you're talking about, for instance, since there are many Springfields in the United States. You can add links. That helps people learn about your organization or congregation. Frequently asked questions. The most frequent question we get is whether or not their donation will be tax deductible. So that's something that we recommend that you do add. And there might be other questions you want to add in here. I'll show you when we go back where that's located on the campaign page. You can upload documents. Let's say you have a letter from a partner who's doing this project with you, an endorsement, or maybe a site plan, or any kind of things like that. You can upload the document right up to your page. And of course, there's Google Analytics available. So for showing your profile type, that's what I drew your attention to at the beginning. You can choose whether or not you want to show as your congregation or organization's profile, or an individual, or you can choose both to be available. And you would just fill out the information about either of those so that it displays. You can have an image or an avatar up there. It really helps people with that sort of brand identification if it's for a congregation or organization. Now you have to add a Stripe account connected to your Faithify account. That's how the money flows from the contributions right into your bank account. This is an important step. Must be completed before you submit your campaign. We do have information about how to connect to Stripe on our website. It's faithify.org/connect-to-Stripe. And that gives you step-by-step instructions for creating a Stripe account and connecting it to your Faithify account. There we are. If you have a website, you're able to put a widget on your website for your campaign, and you can customize what that looks like in this section by choosing different colors for the page, for the widget. If you do not have a website or don't choose to add information about your campaign on your website, just ignore this. and then you review. So your preview page will give you a sense of what it's going to look like in real life. This should look familiar to what we saw at the beginning of this video. You'll see that you have a URL that you can use in your publicity. It gives information about the different profiles people could choose, individual or congregation organization. You can see it's got that image. This is where the frequently asked questions would show. And this one is closed, but it would have the dates of duration in there. And when people add comments, they show along this side. And when you feel like this is how you want it to look, you're all ready, then you would check out our terms of service, privacy statement, and cookies policy, and check the box saying that you've agreed to those, and you send it for review. Now, you would have seen back at the beginning. So back at the beginning, you saw this yellow section. This was after it was submitted and I was reviewing it. We saw that we needed to change the date, so I left a note. If you need to ever see notes that we make, they would be right here in your campaign form, and you can make adjustments. So this was a note made during the review process. The other thing I want to highlight is, this is the campaign page as it looks now after the fact it published on the site. It's really important in your description of your project to highlight how the project is claimed by Unitarian Universalism and claims Unitarian Universalism. That's the heart of Faithify. So make sure that you make that explicit to people. Sometimes that's challenging for folks when it's not coming from a congregation, if it's an organization or an individual. So just make that information really clear to folks. That's one of the criteria for hosting the campaign on Faithify. So now you have the information for how to start a fundraising campaign on Faithify. And we hope that we'll see your campaign soon.